Hi, my name is Peyton Schmidt, and this is my Psychtalk. My journal article was titled Abnormal Frontal Activations Related to Decision-Making in Current and Former Amphetamine and Opiate-Dependent Individuals by Katie Ersch, P.C. Fletcher, S.J.G. Lewis, L. Clark, G. Stocks G., M. London, J.B. Deacon, T.W. Robbins, and B.J. Sahakian. Published in Psychopharmacology in 2005. My article is an investigative study to determine the long-term effects on the brains of current and former amphetamine and opiate users and their brain activity when making decisions. Their hypothesis was that drug users would make more disadvantageous decisions relative to controls with concomitant differences in patterns of brain activation. So, for the method, there were a total of 60 participants split into 4 different groups based on drug use history. There was a control group, amphetamine group, opiate group, and ex-drug group. The criteria that needed to be met for the participants was simply there was a screening process concerning the history of their drug abuse and current health. Some examples of things that excluded participants were comorbid psychiatric illness, history of a head injury, history of a drug overdose that required resuscitation or overnight hospitalization, current pregnancy or or breastfeeding, and dependence on another drug excluding nicotine. This is the procedure. It took place at Wolfson Brain Imaging Center in an MRI scanner. They underwent various decision-making tasks while in the MRI machine, and they each spent 120 minutes in the scanner, and they received 12 PET scans, which produced 35 images of each participant's brain. They were asked to perform a task during each scan, either demonstrating decision-making, working memory, or simple control condition. Each trial, participants chose between various options with different probabilities of reward and punishment. And before each participant was scanned, they were given an explanation of the task they were to perform. Participants were shown a screen of 6 colored boxes with different probabilities of risk and reward. A reward token was hidden behind one of the 6 boxes, and participants were tasked with making the decision of which box the token was behind. There would be a bet on the alternatives, and the larger bet would be placed on the color of the minority, while the smaller bet was placed on the color in the majority. If the participant guessed the correct color in which the token was behind, they would win those points. If the participants guessed the incorrect color in which the token was behind, they would lose those points. And this is an image of what the participants saw and what they had to choose from. Researchers found that all groups had fairly conservative decision-making performances, explaining how they mostly preferred the likely low-reward option over the unlikely risky one. So overall, their hypothesis was somewhat incorrect because they thought that the drug users would have more risky decision-making patterns, but it was actually found that there wasn't a significant difference in the drug users versus the healthy controls when making decisions. So the overall strengths that I thought of this article was that there was a thorough examination and procedure with each participant, which made for a reliable research study. The methods and results were clearly stated, and the goal of the study was clearly stated, in that the researchers had a clear question and hypothesis for their study. A critique that I had, though, that for the source and year written of the article, was that it was written in 2005, and so the information might be somewhat outdated. There's been a rise recently of fentanyl use and abuse, which I believe could lead to different results. There were only 60 participants, which does not seem like enough to get a full picture and accurate results about brain scanning and imaging and activation when decision making. and the opiate user category was not prevalent enough to get an accurate representation. This study was only conducted on one day, with each participant being evaluated for only 120 minutes, and I believe that they should have been evaluated for a longer period of time, whether that be for a longer time in that one day, or several days in 1 week, or however you want to look at it. I believe that there should have been a longer period of time in order to get a more in-depth look at each participant. So there were several confounding variables that I thought could have affected the results, such as access to amphetamines and opiates, their home life, overall mental health disorders, socioeconomic status, and social media and media influence. The results, I believe, were kind of difficult to understand and seemed to go all over the place when stating the results. But yeah, I thought that the confounding variables could have potentially affected these results. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.